Good morning, everyone. It's me, Ari Dossel. You can call me Rashid. Perfectly fine. I'm here with another live, and I want you to go to Ezekiel chapter 8. We're not going to read the whole chapter. No, no, we will not. I want you to go there, as I'm there myself. I'm using the King James Version. And here I want to talk about something the prophet Ezekiel was shown in a vision. All right? Now, the prophet Ezekiel, very briefly, he and his father Buzi. His father was quite old when he begot Ezekiel. So Ezekiel and his much older father, they became a pillar in the Judean community when Emperor Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia kidnapped a portion of the Judean population. The kidnapped portion of the population that was deported to elsewhere in the Babylonian Empire, they kept their Judean identity, and they even have leadership over there. And the thing in Jerusalem still existed. The kingdom of Judah still existed at this time. Jerusalem was not destroyed yet. That happened 9 years after Ezekiel started his ministry. Ezekiel began his ministry at age 30, and he had a ministry of 20 years. Around age 50, he was lynched. All right, so this vision Ezekiel saw was somewhere when he was 36 years old, somewhere. All right, and Ezekiel was a married man also. We're not sure whether he had children or not. Likely he did. Well, in any case, in this piece I'm reading right now, the prophet Ezekiel had the leaders of the Judean diaspora with him. Remember, a portion of the Judean population had been kidnapped and deported to elsewhere in the Babylonian Empire. That diaspora, even there was leadership. And Ezekiel was like the king figure amongst them because he had the elders of the diaspora in his house. So that shows how important the prophet Ezekiel was. It wasn't just any guy in his 30s. He was a leading figure for the Judean diaspora. And by the way, the prophet Jeremiah lived at the same time as he lived. Okay? Even though the prophet Jeremiah was a bit older than him. But okay, that's a bit of background about the prophet Ezekiel. Let's read now. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I sat in mine house, and the elders of Judah sat before me, that the hand of the Lord fell there upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, like a likeness as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins even downwards fire, from his loins even upward appearance of brightness, as the color of amber. And he put forth the form of a hand, and took me by a lock of mine head. Okay? And the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me in the visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looketh towards the north, where, where was the seat of the image of jealousy. Let me see if we can highlight this over here. Which provoked to jealousy. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Then said he unto me, Son of man. Son of man still means means a human male. Son of man, lift up thine eyes now, the way towards the north. So I lifted up my eyes, the way towards the north, and behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entry. It mentions it twice, image of jealousy. Let me highlight it again. Does it work? Okay. No, I won't log in. Verse 6. He said furthermore unto me, Son of man, seest thou what they do? Even the great, what is this? Even the great abominations that the house of Israel committed here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary, but turn thee yet again, and I shall see great abominations. And he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. And said unto me, Go in, and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things, and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel portrayed upon the wall round about. Portrayed upon the wall round about. Okay. I'm going to highlight this one also. And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel. An ancient is actually similar to an elder, someone of old age, often in their 60s or older, with a influential role in the community. And in the midst of them stood Jazania, the son of Saphan, which every man is with everyone his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. So he was seeing something was actually going on back then. Okay? Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark, every man in the chamber of his imagery? For they say, The Lord seeth us not, the Lord hath forsaken the earth. Okay, let me make this one green. You understand where this is going. Let's keep reading. He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was towards the north, and behold, there sat a woman weeping for Tammuz. Okay, green again. Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, thou shalt see greater abomination than these. Wow, so it gets worse and worse. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house. And behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs towards the temple of the Lord, and their face towards the east, and they worship the sun towards the east. Worship the sun. Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit these abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and they have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to the nose. Therefore will I also deal in fury. My eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. Now, now, does God say here that He is they can trigger him to be angry? No. He's using human language to communicate with us. So what you see here is that the prophet Ezekiel was somewhere in Mesopotamia, what they call Iraq, in his house, and he was there with the leaders of the diaspora. So this is how it went. He had a portion of the Israelite community that was kidnapped, all right, towards Mesopotamia. There, they formed their own diaspora community and they had leaders over there, and Jeremiah was the head of the diaspora. Okay, so God wanted to show Jeremiah what we're doing in the homeland, because a lot of the Judeans in captivity thought in the homeland they're fighting, doing their best to rescue us. Well, big disappointment. The Holy Spirit appeared to Jeremiah and brought him to Jerusalem. Now, I'm not sure whether it was through teleportation that the Holy Spirit did this, or it was just that God actually took him out of his human body. I think that was the case. Because why would God take you out of a human body? He can, but Anyway, God showed Jeremiah what they were doing in Jerusalem, and it was not a good sight. The Judeans that were kidnapped, they thought, hey, back there at home in Jerusalem, the king and the government, they're fighting for us. They're not just going to let bad things happen to us. They're fighting on our behalf. Well, the truth is they were escaping over there. And it wasn't just the public that was escaping, it was the whole community that went into an escape mode. Simple as that. So, what do we get out of this? What we get out of this is that, first of all, we should never put our full trust in other people, other human beings. We should have basic trust for other human beings, absolutely. But having full trust in other people, we shouldn't do that. All right? And secondly, we need to learn to do inquiries to figure out what people are doing. The prophet Jeremiah and the leaders in the diaspora, they assumed that their countrymen back home were actually doing what they should be doing to retain Judah's independence as a nation. They were not. Just think about it. Okay? Let me just stop sharing the screen for a moment. And then share another screen over here. So you can here. I hope you all can see it. This was the Babylonian Empire under Emperor Nebuchadnezzar II. Well, in the beginning, during that Ezekiel chapter 8, during that time, this portion and Egypt were not part of the Babylonian Empire yet. The rest were. So Judah back then was under threat of being invaded by the Babylonian Empire. Now, the Babylonian Empire did invade already and kidnapped a big portion of the population and spread all over the place. There was a political move to disown the people. But Ezekiel became the leader of those that were scattered around here. But look at this. Jerusalem and the place where Ezekiel lived, somewhere around here, was not that far apart. Well, just to show you that even though the homeland was just close nearby, there was no serious effort to be freed from the Babylonian yoke. By the way, the prophet Jeremiah even gave them instructions given by God how to remain independent. They had to symbolically submit to the emperor of Babylon, they will be left alone. They didn't want to do this. They were escaping. You know, that this weird national pride they were holding on to. So it was a time of war. Your homeland is about to be invaded again. It was invaded one time already, and a portion of your population was kidnapped. And now, what are you doing? You are weeping for Tammuz. Tammuz was a son of Nimrod, who's worshipped as a deity even till today amongst the pagans. You have this weird thing called jealousy going on. Look, I want to address Ezekiel chapter 8 because it is relevant to us today more than you would realize. First of all, you had this thing of jealousy going on over there. Let me just share the screen again because I want to show it to you. Here, Ezekiel chapter 8. Let's go here. Image of jealousy. Image of jealousy. Portrayed upon the wall round about. Wait, so they made paintings on the wall about what they were worshiping. And the mindset was, the Lord sees us not. The Lord has forsaken the earth. So what I'm saying is you can't trust God. God is not reliable. So we need to do it ourselves. Weeping for Tammuz. It comes down to this image of jealousy. Fallen mankind has this obsession with control. I've explained that before. I did. So what communities in the world tend to do is that they want to emphasize their claim to victimize you. That's what communities in the world do. And by the way, God can never be jealous because God is not insecure. So when the Bible in the Old Testament calls God a jealous God, is symbolic. God is not literally jealous, okay? He's because he has no insecurity. Jealous for what? He's God himself. When it calls God a jealous God, it's symbolic to refer to that God is not tolerating instability. He will take action against any instability in heaven and earth. Now, when human beings are jealous, it means literal jealousy. It means they are obsessed with holding on to something. Envy is when people want to hold on to less and they don't want you to have more than they do. Envy and jealousy are two sides of the same coin. In Rome, in Latin, it's called invidia. We say invidia. It simply means you hold on to a current outcome and you don't want the outcome to be threatened. Where you want to keep things within your reach, that's jealousy. Where you want to prevent others from getting better than you, that's envy. In both cases, you're holding on very tight. And that's what communities in the world do. They hold on very tight. And they even express their claims over you. And this was being done here in Jerusalem. Think about it. The government of Judah and the military of Judah failed in protecting their people because the Babylonians invaded and left with a portion of their population. So that was a big failure. Instead of facing this failure and learn to deal with it constructively, the leaders just didn't want to be challenged. They want to be left alone. Their mentality was, if you challenge us, we'll make you we'll make your life hard or we'll take your life from you. That is the jealousy that is that it's written about over here. And this political jealousy is the norm we all grew up in. For example, if you are from United States of America, you were taught to pledge your allegiance to the flag. You'll see the American flag almost everywhere you go in the United States. You would realize that disrespecting the American flag will even get you in prison or even killed in some places, especially in the South. And outsiders, when they talk to Americans, people from the United States, they notice that the people in the United States are so, how do I say, they're so hyper about how good their country is, about uh, about the so-called American dream, American freedom. But then you look at the reality of the United States, of the actual quality of life over there. You know, there's a lot of people need to work 2 or 3 jobs. You have increased homelessness. You have racial tension increasing. Police brutality is out of line. You notice that a lot of minutes. This country is so divided, and it's so the social condition so toxic. How come nobody must openly call this out for what it is? And here it comes. The moment you call it out in the open, you're forcing everyone around you to deal with the fact that they failed. And the population doesn't want to hear that they failed. So they become jealous of the ease they have, and they will protect this ease by attacking you or make life hard on you. And they will remind you of their entitlement to harm you when you challenge them. And that's why you have many of those national monuments out there, especially memorials or war monuments. War monuments or memorials are designed to trigger fright in the current generation. Let me explain to you why. If you go out there in public in the city and you see this war monument, you see a statue of several soldiers holding the American flag. What does this tell you? It tells you, well, that's the American flag. We're the United States of America, duh. But why are they portraying soldiers struggling holding the flag? They want you to behave a certain way. That's why they put the statue out there. Because those public statues need to be maintained. It's not cheap to maintain a public statue. Why are they doing that? Because they want to remind you that they expect you to put the American society above all. The flag of a country represents the society living there. So if you see a monument of soldiers holding the flag, they tell you, we expect you to put everything aside for us. We want to be your priority. That's what we're telling you. But you may say, Rashid, what's wrong with this? Well, let me tell you what's wrong with that. Because there are no monuments out there showing society being dedicated to you. It's always the other way around. Okay, let me go to another screen sharing over here. If you type in war monuments in Google, you get this monument over here, which I also use for the background of this live stream. Get something like this. Oh wait, this is a Freemasonic thing. Um, well, war monuments are Freemasonry anyway. But anyway, look at this. Another memorial. Ask yourself the question: why are they building monuments for men who died in the war? I mean, just think about it. The men who died, they're not around anymore. Sometimes even their relatives have passed away too. What's the use of building all these big monuments in the present, so called on their behalf? Because I'm telling you, it's not on their behalf. War monuments or memorials, their purpose is to intimidate you, never to question the society you're in. Because it's a type of blackmail. Let me explain to you how the blackmail works. Let's say you see a statue like this, okay? A soldier holds a wounded citizen in his arms. And then they tell you, well, there was a big war and there were men that fought to defend this country. So if you notice a country is not in a best state and you call it out, it will make others uncomfortable. But then you have this monument in public and they tell you, how dare you criticize this country? They should make effort for it. People died for your freedoms, blah, blah, blah. So it's a type of blackmail so you wouldn't challenge the public. Simple as that. That's the purpose of all these monuments. And I'm an anthropologist, remember? I look at the philosophy on why the public and the groups of people do certain things. Here's Canadian Memorial over here. This is what it's meant to do. Society around you does not want to be challenged. So they remind you that at some point they forced some of the men of the community to go out there and fight on behalf of the community, and those men died. So the community pushed some of their own sons to die on the battlefield, just to make sure the community could continue. So what this tells you is that, look, if you ever challenge us, just like we sacrifice those young men on the battlefield, we'll sacrifice you too, but in a different way. That's what that's the message it gives to you on a conscious level. Hold on. So, do you understand now what is meant with image of jealousy in the present day context? Let me know in the live chat. Do you understand now what the image of jealousy is about? Let me know in the live chat. Mhm. So, every country, well, with a few exceptions. I believe Costa Rica is an exception because you have your military over there, maybe Panama too. There's just a few exceptions. Every country puts some intimidation in you, whether you're a citizen or you're a tourist. They put this intimidation in you. Do not question society because society will make life hard on you when you make them uncomfortable. And those monuments are there to show you how far society is willing to go to preserve their ease. So understand this, the goal in military warfare is not to win the war. Look, in the Old Testament times, during the time of the prophet Ezekiel, military warfare was an actual fight for survival often between nations. However, since the Greek Empire was established by Alexander of Macedonia, military warfare became an institutionalized ritual that's repeated in a cycle. So during the time of Prophet Ezekiel was an actual fight of survival between ethnic groups. Well, since the Greek Empire is not that way anymore, military warfare is a ritual in which the public displays how far they're willing to go to preserve their ease. So it's not winning the war, that's the purpose. The purpose is displaying how far they go in offloading on their own people. Because worldly, communities in the world, they bond through trauma. Communities in the world, they bond through trauma. Now, they can bond in other healthy ways, but the healthy ways to bond in don't last because they're not serving the Heavenly Father. So, the strongest way for communities in the world to bond is through trauma. And during military warfare, the community is reviving their trauma bond. The more young men die on the battlefield, the stronger the trauma bond becomes. The more young men die, the more families are hurt by the deaths, so people bond on the hurt. And that has been, for example, the United States, that's been the glue of the United States that bonded Americans together. The American flag represents the willingness of the American people to kill their own just to escape facing themselves. That's what it means. And it's also true for Canada, Mexico, it's true for the Netherlands, Norway, China, Japan, Zimbabwe. It's true for every country. Their national flag is an ensign that tells you We as society, we are willing to kill our own, to hurt our own, to escape facing ourselves. So if you live amongst us, you can be next if you are part of what makes us uncomfortable. If you're an outsider, just know how far we're willing to go. An American flag shows the blood sacrifice openly with the red stripes, which are the streams of blood, and you have the stars, which represents rape spirits, which are demonic spirits that they're holding on to. The blue stands for authority, so they're using demonic charms to have authority over the public through blood sacrifice. That's what the American flag shows. The American flag is in your face, an ensign of blood sacrifice. Now, the Dutch flag is a bit more hidden. You have the red for the blood sacrifice, you have the blue for the authority, and the white for the innocence they proclaim. But anyway, what I'm putting out there is that worldlings escape and they'll turn violent as a group, look for anyone to explode on when they're uncomfortable. And governments in the world only regulate the explosions of the public. They cannot prevent the explosions of the public and only regulate them. And that's why you have military warfare. That's why you have crime out there. So the image of jealousy is any public portrayal of covert intimidation. Society will intimidate you in a covert way, in a hidden way. But their hidden way of intimidating you is by putting those big ass monuments in front of you or by using all that imagery to make you feel like you're not important. Am I saying now that every monument out there is an image of jealousy? No, I'm not saying that. Sometimes you have monuments out there that actually celebrate a good thing that happens. If you have a monument out there that celebrates and actually that's there to celebrate the good thing that happened, keep the monuments. But many monuments out there are nothing but uh, indirect intimidation, so you would never question things around you. As simple as that. Just like during the time of Prophet Ezekiel, the leaders of his homeland were escaping instead of dealing with the danger they face as a nation, the same way leaders today and the population are both doing. And the root of this is they don't trust God. So they rely on violence to keep what they perceive as their safety. Because listen, when people are in unrest, the unrest will harm the community if people are in unrest. So to keep themselves safe from their own unrest, they dump the unrest on a portion of their own people. That's how worldly communities keep themselves sane, by dumping their own unrest on a portion of their own people. They don't dump the unrest on other people from other communities, they dump it on their own because they have this obsessive claim over their own. Why do you think Russia invaded the east of Ukraine? Because you have a high percentage of ethnic Russians living there. So let me get this straight. Russia invaded east of Ukraine, where for the most part you have Russians living, not Ukrainians. And they brought harm to the living place of ethnic Russians. So Russia is killing Russians in Ukraine. And now they claim, oh, that those those four provinces are Russia, because by doing that, they say we have a right to date what we did to those Russian people. Because if you kill Russians, for example, in Germany, sure you have a problem with Germany. But if you kill Russians in Russia, you say we are sovereign, our own people. But now you have Russians in Ukraine that they longs to kill. So they killed Russians in Ukraine, and to justify, say, no, this now Russia. There was a voting happened, a referendum, and people chose to be part of it. Why did Russia do this? So they can justify the blood sacrifice they've done. What the Kremlin wants to do is unify Russia by killing Russians. In this case, they killed Russians outside of Russia. Normally, it's just to justify Russian greatness. You follow me? So that's what it's about. Image of jealousy. The public is obsessed with victimization. They are. How do we counter that as believers? First thing we do, we admit that there is this obsession with victimization. We admit that the public is so invested in it that they will even put subtle threats towards you in the form of monuments or memorials to remind you what can happen to you if you question them or make them, if you don't keep them at ease. So we admit all of this. Then realize, okay. So if the public is so into escaping and willing to become violent just so that they can keep escaping, it means that they're neglecting the community. So we as believers, we have to figure out what and who's being neglected. By us dealing with the portion that's neglected, we are actually contributing to the community. A contribution they should be doing. But because we are contributing now and they don't, they are in trouble if they ever can come against us. By doing that, we have countered their subtle threats. Because one of the excuses the masses will use for targeting you or make life hard on you is say you don't contribute, only cause trouble. But if we actually deal with the parts they neglect and something they should be doing, now the whole accusation backfires. That is how we counter the public's obsession with victimization. All right? That is the solution. The solution is not to go out there and blow up all the war monuments. Don't do that. You're going to trigger anger from the public. It's not, don't do that. We leave the war monuments alone. We leave the weird symbols alone, and we just deal constructively with the portions of the community that's neglected. So if there's a lot of homeless people, believers come up with projects to decrease homelessness. If there's a lot of child molestation going on, we offer therapy for people who suffer childhood trauma in that way. We deal with the portion of the community that's neglected. And once we do that, what can they bring against us? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So, this image of jealousy is symbolic for the public's obsession with victimization, and it's an ancient thing that continues till this day. Look, there are also certain holidays out there to remind you of your place. We just had Easter. Today is the second Easter day in the Netherlands, so I'm off work. Praise God. But why some of these holidays are installed to remind you that the public will lose it on you if you don't make them at ease. So does it mean we're going to fight our holidays? No, because even Jesus participated in holidays when he was on the earth. So we can't fight holidays. What we do is, if you participate in a holiday, the only reason should be because you utilize this holiday to advance yourself in the community. Why do you advance yourself? For the glory of God. We should not attend any holiday with the intent that we're going to get closer and better with other people. No, it's not. It's not going to happen that way. Holidays in the world are an escapism for some people who have to face the fact that they're not as good towards one another. Simple as that. So, the public has an obsession with victimization. I just explained to you how to counter it, and we can counter it. Just how what we do. Before I continue, is there any, no, not continue because there's not much for me to say anymore. I'm almost near the end of the live stream. Are there any questions about this topic or any remarks? Let me know now in the live chat, please. Let me know. Are there any questions about this topic? Let me know now. To understand the following, you can use a national flag to identify where you're from, but it should only be an identifier where you're from. It shouldn't be an identifier of what you are or who you are, because that goes too far. I'll just wait for another minute to see if questions come in. And it's good. So understand the following. Hold on. Alter Ego said something. What did he say? In Estonia, Russian public lost it when. Okay, you haven't finished your sentence. Um, Look, everywhere you go in the world, everywhere you go in the world, there is some type of indirect intimidation on display. Just don't be impressed with it as a believer. Alter Ego said in Estonia, Russian public lost it when they moved one statue. Wow. Hold on a minute. So you have a Russian population living in Estonia. A statue was removed or was moved, and they're losing it. Hold on a minute. I thought it's Estonia, not Russia. Shouldn't people in Estonia be able to move a statue if it's not in harmony with Estonia? Why are is the Russian population in Estonia losing it because the statue was moved? That shows because that statue represents something about them. Doesn't matter if it was long ago. Doesn't matter if it was long ago. By the way, even today, even a few years ago, with this whole thing of George Floyd in Britain, there was this uh, colonial statue of some slave owner that was dropped into the river. Common British folks, common European Britons, jumped into the river to bring back the statue. Those statues aren't just pieces of art out there. They represent a demand, a claim from the public or from a portion of the public. If you touch a statue or you vandalize a statue, you're saying, I don't take your claim. And worldly people, when you don't validate their claims, they're losing it on you. Simple as that. So the public space out there isn't just decorated just like that. Claims from the public are represented out there. So when you go abroad, you're on your holiday, you see all the statues, all those monuments, ask yourself, which claim are they forcing over here? Because every public monument has some type of claim from some group of people that's being honored. So always examine it in that way. All right. Well, anyway, I don't have much more to say about this topic. Please, I told you how to counter it. Please counter this public obsession with victimization wherever you are. Keep agreeing with Christ. Keep agreeing with Christ, and I'll see you next live stream. Shalom.